Good morning. It is Friday, and we've got some little bit of cooler weather for you today. However, the humidity is going to go up. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. On our show today, well, we have Maggie Blackwell from United, and she's going to talk about a few different projects that are going on within United. One of them we're going to discuss has to do with using herbicides and pesticides. So you might want to, if you live in United, you might want to listen in on that. And also she talks about some alternatives they're looking at as well. From Sterling Financial Advisors, Dan Oweiler will be here, and he's going to be talking about the possibility of more tax cuts coming in from the federal government sometime in the very near future, possibly in 2019. So let's find out what those may be. From the El Toro Water District, Fred Ajarian is here today and is going to talk about the Water Commission. And then we're going to bring you a short segment from Cunning Dental. They're having an event tomorrow at the Ayers Hotel. As far as meetings go today, well, there's one today, and then there's the Docent Tour tomorrow on Saturday. Today, it's Third's Parking and Golf Cart Task Force, and that is at 9:30 in the Sycamore Room. Then tomorrow, if you'd like to take the Docent Tour, that's going to be happening at 9 o'clock. Now, you need to email them, and from there, they'll let you know where the tour is going to start. So it's docent at vmsinc.org. Now, let's get to the weather. Excuse me. And today should be a little bit cooler. Yesterday we got that fog layer in. Today, a little bit more. And it's what's called an inversion layer. And we see this a lot. We see this a lot in June, but it's coming in and it's kind of holding there. Now the air quality isn't really great. One of the reasons is that we got the Cranston fire that is out in Idlewild area, and together with that smoke coming in, although we really don't notice the smoke here, but that inversion layer starts to come in and it kind of holds the two right together, hanging over Southern California. That's why yesterday, you probably noticed it was hazy everywhere. Today, the same thing. Now, tomorrow, going forward, we're going to drop the temps a little bit. Over the next few days, you can see in the mid-80s or so. And as we get into the next few days, we're going to see a little bit more of the scattered clouds come in as that humidity sneaks over westward. It's coming from the Arizona, New Mexico, where they get the monsoonal moistures and the rains out there. And as it gets into our area, our humidity will go up. Temperatures are going to be pretty nice over the weekend. Start to rise up again Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll probably see closer to about that 90, 92 degree mark. So still going to be warm here, but the good news is, at least in this area, we're getting that fog layer coming in the evening and then in the early morning. So that keeps things cool overnight. We've been cooling off a lot quicker. Very good. It feels great, doesn't it? Around the state this weekend, you can see that overall it's looking very, very nice. Up there in the Bay Area and the peninsula, about 74. In the Central Coast, 81. Beautiful down in San Diego. And then Tahoe and Yosemite, very warm up there. Look at Yosemite, 94 degrees is their average this weekend, going down to 63 at night. And then locally, here in Palm Springs, I put hot and smoky because of that Cranston fire. A lot of smoke is drifting into Palm Springs because that fire is only a few miles out of Palm Springs. I think probably about 25 miles. So it's drifting a lot of that smoke in that area, including Hemet and that whole area along the 74. So keep that in mind if you're going out there. They do have some smoke. And also, by the way, the big Redding fire that is up in Northern California, that is close to the Shasta area. So if you're heading up there for some reason, that's a very big troublesome fire up there. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
We all know there's no place like home. You want to stay in your own home, but day-to-day tasks are getting more difficult to manage. Acticare is the solution. We are the trusted care partner in your community with 5-star reviews. You've taken care of others all your life. Now is the time to let us help you. In-home care is a safe and effective way to help you remain living independently in the comfort of your own home.
Acticare, responsive in-home care. Your first day is free.
And Maggie Blackwell is with you right now from United. She is their board secretary. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
And what is on your message today about
Okay, I'm not
United?
a secretary today. I'm the landscape committee chair today.
All right.
Right. And boy, did we have a hot one in July. We had a hot meeting. It was on pesticide use. And our residents are concerned about pesticide use. Of course, you read every week in the newspaper about something else that's cancer-causing and toxic and whatever. And pet owners have noticed that they think their doggies are getting sick more, and they have sore paws and things like that. And so they're thinking that it is potentially these dangerous chemicals in our areas that are occurring. So we had a landscape meeting specifically for pesticide use.
Okay.
This is for United only, although the audience did have several third members in here and some other people from outside also. We manage in the landscape division totally over 2,000 acres of landscaped areas, and the total budget for the entire landscape is in excess of $20 million. So it's not a small enterprise.
And now that's for everyone?
That's for all three of us, right. Okay. For United, we have 100 cul-de-sacs, and each cul-de-sac has about 100 units in it of one type or another, you know, foursomes, threesomes, twosomes, whatever. And so we have a large amount of green areas and a large amount of smaller areas and pathways around. We use pesticides, but we have only used we are totally within all the guidelines. We are so careful. We have pesticides registered with the EPA and specifically with the California Department of Pesticide Regulation. There is a pest control advisor on staff who's licensed, and we use only the integrated pest management practices, always. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you can drink our stuff like iced tea, okay? We currently use the 5 most current products are also, of course, on every eco-friendly person's hot list. Right. We use Roundup, and this is for non-selective control of weeds and grasses in shrub beds and open space. This is used to edge around the trees, around boxes, and things like that. This product only carries a caution word, and according to the EPA, is a low toxicity product. Well, people are afraid that that really hasn't been tested as well as they think it should, and it's a fairly new product, so they're fearing that there are going to be much greater repercussions. Re-entering the areas where it is applied is considered to be safe for humans or pets once the product has dried. Okay. Now, wherever we apply pesticides, Roundup or these others, we put little flags out to warn the dog walkers and people with children that no one should be walking in that area, in that you can walk on the sidewalk, but don't be walking on the turf or the bush areas or anything like that during that time. We have, for notification, we have a phone number that you can call. We have a listing on the website which has all the buildings that will be handled and the cul-de-sacs that will be handled each week. And then we have that list also on the website, and in the breeze we put it, and
so
we
there's
do
several
email
sources
it out. So there are many sources for you to do it. And we do hope that dog walkers adjust their walks. Some of them are blaming the pesticides, and my question is, are you staying away from those areas and stay away longer? We are thinking of making the flag time many hours longer to be absolutely, absolutely, absolutely
So the flags
certain.
are put out and then they are retrieved after the time passes.
Has been dried, and he's gone off and done somewhere else. And after one or two other places, he comes back and removes all of the flags in that area. Well, we're thinking of maybe waiting 1 or 2 sprinkler cycles or several more hours or something. We're thinking of making that adjustment to mark that off just to be sure. And that would be careful. Turf lawn is another one. That's for the grassy ones. Broadleaf grasses in broadleaf weeds in warm season turf. It's used for control of the weeds in kikuyu grass, which seems like a weed itself.
Yeah. Is there any difference?
Yes, right.
I have kikuyu grass, so I know.
Right. According to turf lawn is only a caution warning either. And so that's a low toxicity product, and everybody sits there and says, oh yeah, you know. Sedgehammer is another one. That's for control of yellow nut sedge, a noxious weed, unique and not controllable with traditional herbicides. Fusilade is a specialty herbicide to eradicate grassy weeds growing in ground cover or shrub areas without harming desirable plants. And the last one we use is barricade. That's to prevent weed seed germination in shrub beds. So if we get out barricade first, then we hope we won't have to be using the other
And what's
stuff.
the caution for that? Is that listed on there?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't say. Okay, now, in 2015, we were concerned about this at the end of 2015. So in August of 2015, the end of August, we said to United Landscape, we said, let's try 3 cul-de-sacs, no herbicides.
Okay.
And so we tried that for 16 months. At the meeting of February 2017, we looked at the results, and they'll curl even my hair. Okay. The weeding time it took for our workers to handle the non-herbicided cul-de-sac was 6 times longer per cul-de-sac. So it isn't like it's, only 2 or whatever. 6 times longer. When you figure how long it takes, we can only get to a cul-de-sac perhaps 9 times a year, which is what we're aiming for. Well, if we make it 6 times longer for them when they get there, they're going to get to you maybe twice a year, if that. We would need, for sure, at least 2 teams. We're already short 1 team, which is why we're dragging a little bit. And if we do this, we'll be short 2 teams. So that is really frightening. But we're going to see what we can do. The organic alternative to Roundup, this is an option we're considering, costs 14 times more, only kills the leafy part of the plant. So bingo, you do that, the thing is dead for a week, boop, and it comes up again. So you have to keep spraying it over and over and over and over again. This would be tedious and laborsome on the spraying side and so on and so on. And not that much better. It's made of rosemary oil and various salt-based products, but that's why it only kills the top of the leaf and nothing else.
That's like, I use vinegar at home, and vinegar will do the same thing. However, it just kills the leaves and it dries it out. And if the sprinklers go on the next day, well, it washes away whatever vinegar I put on.
Exactly, right.
Although sometimes I put it on the salad, the lettuce I'm growing, I'm all set.
Oh, I know it.
I'm ready to go.
It's very
Just
good on the lettuce, right. Yeah, right. For organic, for turf lawn, that's the grass The alternative is Fiesta, which just has low effectiveness, also requires many applications. Cost of Fiesta is 10 times more than turf lawn. For the other three, there is no alternative, no organic alternative at all. So you can go out and put baking soda on it or coffee or whatever, it's not going to work. There's nothing that will work. We are hoping that improved notification, posting, and supervision of areas treated will help eliminate exposure of members and their pets. We want you to be very careful about that. We are going to, for United, we are going to have another meeting August 9th, and we ordered the landscape department to come up to see a further analysis specifically eliminating the use of Roundup.
Okay.
That is the one that everybody is most afraid of. And as it is used it's only one of our 5, we will see what we can do about that. But then again, if we don't get the labor somehow, we're just talking in the air, you know. If we can't get the weeds controlled for you somehow or another, members will really be screaming, and rightly so, because it's our job to keep the areas looking nice. So the staff is working very hard trying to devise all new ways of luring workers over here. Our work pool is so small for that level of worker. And they're all outside, maybe further south. There's some workers and so on, but we get a lot of workers out of Santa Ana now, but that's quite a drive. But we will see what we can do, and they'll make the adjustments. They'll make a try with several ideas so that we can come up with some adjustments to decrease our level of toxicity of the herbicides we spray. Now, in part of last year, they tried using less herbicide on everything. And last year, the residents were screaming it was really bad. Of course, it was bad, too, because last year was the wet year. And we would spray last year, and bingo, the rain would come down and wash it out of the way. And so we need to have good luck with weather, and we need a labor supply. High school students who want to work part-time, I don't know who's going to come. But we do need a labor supply, or we're just kidding ourselves. Then we'll just be overgrown. We'll have to just plow everything over, which would be extremely expensive to do also. So it's just a really tricky question. I'd urge everyone to monitor the herbicide schedules very closely with whatever source you use, and be careful.
All right, very good. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we can spray some vinegar on some lettuce and have a salad.
You can go out and do vinegar, or you can even spray a little coffee. Juanita just sprays coffee. So
I've done that before. All right, we'll be right back.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me. Or help me go to college.
How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
Nice tie.
Nice tie. You like my tie? Yeah, Dan was commenting on my tie.
Very colorful.
Yes, very colorful. You know, it's Friday. Got to have a little fun with it. Nice to see you here today.
Good to see you.
And we've got possible tax cuts coming in, a little bit more.
Everybody's still reeling from the first tax cut, depending upon which side of the political aisle you're on. But
yes.
Some good economic news today. The economy grew at 4.1% GDP, which is they said that the best quarter in 4 years.
Right.
We're on pace to break the record for the past 13 years if it continues.
Right.
You know, the question is one side of the aisle says, well, that's just one blip in a quarterly report, and the other one says, no, it's going to continue. So it all depends on which side of the aisle you want to be politically on as to whether or not it's good news or bad news, you know, but you can't argue with the number by any means.
And you know what's interesting about this report that you sent me is one of the things that they talk about here is, yes, the corporate tax rate, but you know, for years the U.S., the corporations based in the U.S. were being one of the highest tax corporations compared to the rest of the world. And what we saw, as you know, is many of the corporations, A, either move their headquarters somewhere, or B, allowed a foreign company to buy them, so therefore they could become.
Well, the money that's it was part of the first tax cut.
Yeah.
They allowed the money to come back into the United States at a 15% rate.
Yeah.
So trillions of dollars came back from overseas.
Right.
And so it had been sitting overseas because they would have been taxed at such a high rate. It didn't make sense for the corporations to bring it back.
Right.
And so that first tax cut allowed them to say, okay, we can get it back into the United States, put it into infrastructure or whatever, you know, R&D or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Pay 15%, and now we're clean and ready to go.
Yeah.
So that had a big boost on the economy, and the United States did have one of the highest corporate tax rate of developed countries anyway.
Yeah.
And so it was reduced 14% from 35% down to 21%. And so we saw a lot of companies giving bonuses, contributing more to 401ks, and that in turn has helped people along the way.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what, you know, folks living here and families, middle class, they really look at this and going, okay, how am I going to be helped?
Bottom line is what's on my paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, at the bottom line is
exactly.
how am I being helped? And obviously it's helped everyone, not everyone, but it's helped the majority of Americans in regards to putting a little bit more money in their pocket. It's definitely helped companies hire more people. Unemployment rate is at an all-time low.
Yeah, it is.
You know, both Hispanics and African Americans are both at all-time low unemployment.
Yeah.
And so with the success of that tax cut, they're talking about maybe doing tax cut 2.0 type of thing. You know, how can we go about maybe improving the economy even a little bit more, which is always a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
But whether or not that comes to pass, we don't know. But coming in this morning as I was driving, they had the president's or the White House chief economic advisor talking about maybe implementing this second round of tax cuts to help the keeping the economy going.
Yeah, and you know, they won't be as huge as the first ones, but it's almost like they're tweaking it a little bit, seeing how much a little bit more we can add on to this.
Well, the first one was a huge package.
Yeah,
it was a whole huge package, but they're talking about maybe doing, you know, 2 or 3 smaller bills that will tweak things, like you said, here or there. Maybe lowering the corporate tax rate from 21% down to 20%. Maybe giving people an opportunity to save a little bit more, and the big thing is making these individual tax rates permanent. Right now they're temporary. And so one of the big things they want to do is, if they can make these tax rates permanent, then it probably gives people a little bit more security as going forward versus, is this a temporary fix.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah, and I see also on here they talk about pensions as well.
Yeah,
I'm
they
looking
want
at
they
that.
want to make sure that pensions are funded
Yeah.
by companies, and because one of the unfortunate things is the unfunded pensions obligations that companies have or governments have.
Yeah.
You know, we saw that in Detroit a few years
Right,
back where
right.
they declared bankruptcy and the pensions were affected. Eventually they got that resolved, but they want to make sure that companies that are promising pensions are able to fulfill those obligations.
And one of the problems with that is, whether it's a private or public, is that a lot of times those were set up years ago when things were a little bit more robust, or pensions were just, everybody got them.
It
wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, I mean you and I, our parents grew up and you got a pension.
Yeah.
My father-in-law worked for GM and he was an assembly line guy, and you know, and everybody got pensions.
Right.
You know, now I in my book I wrote, we've talked about before, I call it, we're in a pensionless society.
Yeah.
You know, you've got teachers and government workers and maybe some high-end executives that end up getting pensions.
Yeah.
Okay. But the rest of us, they kind of shake our hands and give us a pat on the back and say, here's your 401k, now you're responsible for your own retirement.
Yeah.
And so that's where the income planning needs to come in and really do some planning in regards to securing an income stream.
Yeah, well, I think years ago, and I'm sure you would agree with this, when it came to pensions, it was a way to keep employees staying at the company for years.
Absolutely.
And they wanted that.
Right.
Nowadays,
loyalty.
Yeah, loyalty doesn't.
It's
is out the
rare that
window.
somebody stays with one company.
Yeah.
For their entire employed life. You know, I mean, I have a son-in-law that probably has been with 3 different companies in the short time that he's married my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, they move from. Anybody who is willing to write a bigger check, you know, there's no loyalty.
Yeah.
You know, they're gone. You know, and so the ability to get a pension or qualify for a pension is very rare because you're not with a company that long.
Yeah, and that's where 401ks come into play.
Correct. At least you can take that with you. You know, but the other thing that was a little bit exciting about the economic news today is inflation rate didn't expand with the economy.
Right.
So,
and that was something I know, looking back even 6 months ago, they were a little worried about.
Yeah, they're looking, you know, if the economy starts expanding too fast or overheating, they kind of raise interest rates to keep inflation down. Well, the inflation rate, I think, came in at like 2.2%, which is very good in regards to the overall inflation rate.
Yeah.
The problem with raising interest rates is our national debt is so high that the government, it would cost the government so much money if they start raising interest rate a point or two. I mean, it would cost them billions of dollars just in servicing the debt, existing debt, let alone the new debt that they have to bring on to support the spending. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. And so you know, if people are looking to get 6 or 7% CD rates in the future, I wouldn't be holding our breath because the government just can't afford to service debt at those types of interest rates.
Yeah, and you know, the point you're bringing up is the fact that you just don't magically raise interest rates for the savers, and not for the debtors.
Well, I said,
and we are,
you know,
as a nation,
we have a little kind of a financial storm in regards to the spenders and the savers. Spenders want low interest rates. Those people that are buying homes, automobiles, they want low interest rates. The savers want high interest rates. Unfortunately, the spenders have been winning over the last few years. You know,
and probably will continue.
I mean, but the nice thing about that is the economy's in a position to where we can maybe look at this next round of tax cuts continuing the economic boom that's been taking place over the last year.
Well, let me ask you this when it comes especially to California. You know, we are
one of the highest.
Highest taxes and regulations, but we're raising, on one side, this is good, raising the minimum wage,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like these companies are going to eat that cost.
Well, I was
So
just going to
could we
say,
see
do you
inflation
think,
here?
do you think that, you know, we're not going to pay for that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you look at, I think it was Portland or Seattle raised the minimum wage to $15 or
Yeah.
something, you know, and, you know, Starbucks isn't going to just say, oh, I'm going to start paying my employees $15 and not raise their prices.
Right, right.
They're going to have to raise their
Yeah.
prices. Eventually, it comes back down to it's going to take more out of our pockets
Yeah.
because of these regulations that come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's right or wrong. You know, it's, you know, that's the political question to be answered
Right.
by the politicians. But you know, companies just don't eat these things.
Right.
You know, when they pass these regulations.
Yeah.
You know, I was, you know, they passed this regulation. I don't know if you're aware of that about water usage. You know,
yeah.
California passed somewhere along the line that we can use 55 gallons per
I saw that, yeah.
per person per day.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you go over that, there's no penalty to you. They penalize the water district.
Right.
Well, do you think the water district's not going to pass that on to us anyway? You know?
Yeah.
And so every regulation that costs companies money, it gets passed on to you and I anyway. And so, you know, rightly or wrongly, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but the nice thing about that is that the economy is humming along pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in a position to where maybe even the tax revenues might increase as a result of these tax reductions.
Yeah.
They always talk about, well, the government's not going to get as much money. Well, if you have a robust economy,
Yes.
there's more taxes revenue that does come in
Yeah.
as a result of that.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's again, whichever aisle of the political spectrum you fall on is going to have the debate.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
That's true.
but I think it's important to try to get these tax changes permanent, so we've got some permanency in that.
Yeah, and the stability
Yeah.
that people have.
Right.
Well, good discussion. I appreciate you coming in today.
Good to be here.
And seminars coming up anytime soon?
We just had one last night, so
Okay.
we'll have one in August. So
Okay.
we'll have a couple in August that if people want to give us a call, we'd be happy to get them in.
All right, and the numbers on the screen as well, the website, sterlingfa.com. And they give good seminars, and they're fun to go to. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get a nice meal in
Nice
return.
dinner. All right.
All right, and you meet nice people.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, take care, Dan.
All
We'll
right.
be right back.
Now lately things been kinda crazy, 'cause I don't see you in my world.
It's important for you to get your financial house in order. And so it breaks my heart sometimes when I see widows that come in with $100,000, $200,000 to their name, and yet their broker has lost $200,000 or $300,000 in the market when they shouldn't even have been in the market. The most satisfying part that I find in working with retirees is when they come in on their annual reviews and the market has had a bad turn, and we know that we can sit down and look at them and say, you haven't lost any money.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sean Thomas. Welcome to Sports Talk. Come join me here every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. for sports highlights, tournament news, and interviews for Laguna Woods residents and around the world. Hey, maybe even Broadway. It's a beautiful day for a ball game. Put it on your calendar. Thursday mornings, a great way to start your day with me and the Sports Talk way. Or even a triple's okay. I'll see you then.
Looking for a change of scenery? You don't have to play golf to enjoy all that 19 Restaurant and Lounge has to offer. From a delicious breakfast menu to our delectable lunch and dinner specials. At 19 Restaurant and Lounge, there is something for everyone. Relax with your friends and family and take in the beautiful view from our spacious patio. Or enjoy a cocktail and appetizer in our lounge. 19 Restaurant and Lounge is a great place to socialize, enjoy a meal, or simply take in the view. Join us 7 days a week and experience Laguna Woods' exclusive dining experience.
When a loved one requires ongoing assistance and attention, home-related care and caregiving become viable alternatives to an existence dependent upon hospitalization. Your home care provides thoughtful general care and assistance with the basic necessities of daily living, all within familiar surroundings. Call 949-215-0004 to schedule a personal in-home consultation.
When you travel with AAA, you get more than a vacation. You get exclusive AAA member benefits, special offers on unforgettable experiences, and the travel planning knowledge of your own AAA travel agent. When you travel with AAA, you get the vacation of your dreams. To save on a pleasant holidays vacation, visit your local AAA travel agent today.
Well, with me today from the El Toro Water District, one of their directors, Fred Ajarian.
Ken, good
welcome,
morning.
sir.
Good to see you again, as always.
Nice to have you on once again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, as always.
And today we are going to talk about that all-encompassing body, the California Water Commission,
yes,
and really focusing on the storage investment program. And this is something that I think over the years we've talked about, and in many cases we've talked about why isn't there more storage? You know, we get every 3, 4, 5 years these heavy rains, and the water, either a dam goes or something happens and it goes out to the ocean. We're like, look at these millions of gallons, that trillions of gallons, we could be doing something with, right?
And so really the point of today's program is, that's a great segue, Ken, the point of today's program is to help our customers understand what the state is doing to hopefully capture some of that excess water that occurs with the rainfall when we do have bountiful years like 2017, which was an absolutely incredible year. And to capture that and set it aside in as many buckets as possible. So just a little bit about the commission here. The commission is one of these agencies that people don't hear too much about, but they are a very important part of California's $2.1 trillion economy. They, of course, approve the rules, review the rules and regulations for the Department of Water Resources. That's the state agency that oversees the state's water resources and the use of them, both surface and groundwater and conjunctive use. They provide a forum for the department's policies, how the department will manage and operate the different systems like Oroville or San Luis, some of the other facilities, the State Water Project, and then also key water issues that is affecting the state department's ability to manage the resources. The Water Commission is our voice in Washington because these projects are very expensive. So they advocate for federal funding, and we're talking millions or billions of dollars in addition to the state funds or bonds that voters will approve, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Each year, the State Commission reviews the condition of the State Water Project. That's the big lifeline that people will see, the aqueduct that they drive up. So they go up the 5 and the 99 north to Sacramento, 444 miles long. That was built by or overseen by Governor Pat Brown, Jerry Brown's father. So that's an important responsibility for the commission. They also name the facilities, and that's a much bigger deal than most people realize. And then finally, and the topic of today's discussion, they oversee the water storage investment program. They come up with specific processes, which we'll talk about in just a bit here. In fact, why don't we just maybe go to the next slide?
We'll go to the next slide and look at this. And you know, this is a water bond that came up in 2014, but we're probably now seeing the benefits of it because it takes years to put these in. I mean, it gets approved. But by the time things are utilized and built and designed, you know, you're looking several years down the road.
Exactly, Ken. It's Prop 1, which was approved in 2014 by 2/3 of California's voters, set aside over $7.5 billion in funds for not just water infrastructure projects, which we're going to focus on specifically, but habitat restoration, ecosystem, watershed protection, It is a program that sometimes I get questions from my friends saying, Fred, what's this bond really going to do? Is it just going to sit there and we're not going to use the funds? I said, oh no, it'll get used. It just has to go through a process. And I'll talk about this process in just a minute.
Okay.
So 2.7 billion of those 7.5 billion are dedicated exclusively for the operational improvement of the State Water Project, and specifically for drought preparedness, as we'll see here in just a minute. And the specific item that we're going to talk about is storage, the storage investment program to help ensure the state's water storage capacity. As you alluded to in the beginning, Ken, storage is one of those very important but often overlooked essentials in California.
Yeah.
You know, the state has so many different climates. We have over nearly 40 million people. We have a $2.1 trillion economy, that's north and south together. Water is essential to our well-being and to our economy. And so we can never have too much storage.
Right.
And I think maybe in the next slide here, we'll be able to see some of the detail.
And on the map, we can see some of these.
Right. Now, this map that I have here, this is a proposed project. It's up in Northern California.
Okay, yes, I see.
It's the Sites Reservoir, so voters will be hearing more about this as it comes up, since it was one of the dozen or so projects that did get approved. And its purpose is to capture those high flows that we talked about earlier during large winter storms that pummel Sacramento. And the emphasis on this program is on investment. This is a long-term investment for a facility that's going to be around between 75 to 150 years.
Okay. Now, is this currently a lake?
No.
That they'll turn into a reservoir?
They will turn it into a reservoir. It is an open valley right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's not even, and they probably have noticed a lot of watershed goes into it. Why not capture it?
It's been studied.
Yeah,
each of the various sites. Yeah, this is an open valley at the moment, but it has been studied and looked at in 12 Ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
And to see how water, if it were captured here in this configuration, then could be incorporated into the State Water Project, the aqueduct that runs from the Delta south. This is what they call an off-stream storage reservoir site that would be constructed to capture all those excess flows. So these projects go through a very comprehensive competitive review process, round after round of reviews, public hearings, a very time-consuming process that takes several years. The state obviously is a partner in this, and these projects, the key, any project that's selected has to improve the State Water Project system. So in the next slide here.
Okay, and this is the benefits here. And again, as you've talked about before, yes, we want to have a water supply.
Yes.
But along with that, look at some of the most important things, flood control. I mean, the ecosystem, that too. I mean, some people are like, well, give us the water, put the ecosystem second. But also the flood control, though, that is huge in this state, and we've seen it,
From a public health and safety standpoint, you're absolutely right, Ken.
Yeah.
Flood control, as you see that picture on the right,
we
hear often Sacramento getting pummeled or in siege, under siege from massive amounts of rain.
Yeah.
When it rains, it pours in this state, and then when it's dry, it's bone dry. And so the extremes really, typify the variation in climate in this state. Some of the other important points, needs or elements are emergency response, fire, also for earthquakes. If there's damage to one of the or both of the aqueducts, State Water Project and the Colorado River Aqueduct coming over from the Colorado River, then these reservoirs, assuming they're in good shape, can carry us over until repairs have been made. And typically they say 3 to 6 months, probably more. Recreation is another key, very popular, water skiing, fishing, boating, at all the major lakes. We're talking like Oroville, San Luis, Paris Lake out in Riverside County. So those are the visible signs of the water storage reservoirs.
And that's, and obviously the ecosystem too. I was just, to some people, it's like some of this regulations that have come down from the state.
Yes.
We look down here in Southern California as maybe limited some water, and we want to see looks like they're addressing that a little bit more though.
I think with this current California Water Fix project, it definitely is going to help get more of that balance in terms of protecting their environmental resources, but also providing that water that we need, especially for these kinds of projects. So there are several different types of storage projects. The word reservoir itself, it comes from the French réservoir, which I have to roll those R's. But it is, so reservoir storage, of course, everybody's familiar with that. A lake, typical lake here that you see on the right. Then there's groundwater storage. Those, underground, basically, large areas, expanses of basins that have the ability to store lots of water. You put it away kind of like a bank account for dry times. Conjunctive use, that's a combination of surface water and groundwater storage used in tandem. And then reservoir reoperation is basically, you see this shot of Paris Reservoir here at the bottom. It's a way of operating the reservoir, making those the releases of the water stored in that reservoir in a systematic manner that's timed, that doesn't weaken or affect the dam. I mean, there's a lot of considerations when reservoir releases are made. So it's just a way of operating and managing the reservoir. It's just a fancy term for a reservoir storage release.
And of course that certainly comes into play in areas that are prone to flooding, and being able to release that, like you said, and in a timely manner, in a way that is very controlled.
Exactly.
We saw what happened up in
Oroville last year. Exactly. The state was sitting on their hands, concerned that maybe that spillway wasn't going to be able to handle the release, but fortunately it came through, and now they're in the process of repairing it. The competitive process that I referred to, it's spelled out in the California Water Code. I think the key point here is that it's a competitive process. Each project has a number of metrics that are evaluated against cost, efficiency, timeliness, benefit to the environment, benefit to the public. And so the commission staff goes through this very, very comprehensive process and also gets public input as well. And in the next slide, I think we'll see the list of projects that were submitted.
There's a lot going on. Wow.
We can see here up and down the state. This was the initial list of 12 projects, some from as far south as San Diego, as far north as Colusa County. That's the Sites Reservoir project. One in particular here, Irvine Ranch, project number 4, that's in the Central Valley. People are thinking, what's Irvine Ranch doing in the Central Valley? This is one of those underground groundwater storage projects where they're creating that bank account to set aside water in a groundwater basin that doesn't get used by the growers and for dry times, so they can tap that resource and then pump that water into the aqueduct and bring it south when it's needed. But each one of these projects, you have, again, surface storage, groundwater storage, conjunctive use, reservoir reoperation. It spans the range of different storage opportunities.
I like the map, really spells out everything.
Yes.
So the final slide is, again, going back to Proposition 1, and this one, you kind of show the timeline here, which again, just because something's passed the bonds, it can take years to come to fruition.
Exactly. The process, everything is a process in this state, especially in the water industry. So we started, the bond was approved in 2014, regulations were tweaked in 2016, then each of those 12 agencies we saw on that last slide, they applied, and we're not talking just a few sheets of paper like this, Ken. We're talking stacks of paper, maps, reports, hydrologic studies, engineering studies. I mean, it is a detailed process. So that occurred over the better part of last year. Last month, the commission approved only 8 of those 12 projects. And over the next few months, they're going to start awarding money to each of these projects. One of those 8 projects was that Sites Reservoir project.
Yeah.
That got just a little over $1 billion of the 2.7 billion.
And so we can see here just by this, the timeline, it can take 4 or 5 years just to go through the process, and then another 4, 5, 6 years of the construction of the building. So you can look at 10 years or
10
more
years easily.
before it says, here it is.
Right.
Fred, we're out of time.
We're good.
We're good.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and
All right.
pray for water, as I always tell our customers.
Good to see you, sir.
Ken,
thank you very much for the information.
Appreciate
and you can always go on the El Toro Water District site. It's right up there, etwd.com. Get more information all about that. We'll be right back. Thank you.
The El Toro Water District Phase 2 Recycled Water Expansion Project has installed over 21,000 feet of recycled water pipelines and is now over 75% complete. The final pipeline installations, as well as installations of service lines and final paving, should be complete by July. The connections of the individual irrigation systems to the new recycled water pipelines should be complete by the end of the year. The district sincerely appreciates your patience as we enhance the water supply resources in the Laguna Woods area.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Hoffman. I'm the seminar presenter for Cunning Dental, about ready to start a seminar here in Montclair. Why don't you consider joining us for our next seminar down at Laguna Woods at the Ayers Hotel, July 28th. Again, Ayers Hotel, Laguna Woods, July 28th. And come and see why a new smile will work versus that hide a smile that maybe you've perfected right now. I have Doreen with me here for this little interview. And Doreen, just a quick question. It's summertime. Can you tell us, obviously you're post-operation, that's why your smile looks shining here. Can you tell us about the summer foods that you're enjoying? Barbecue, for instance.
You know, I've said it many, many times during my testimonial, but it is just the best to have beautiful teeth. But to me, what's important is that I can enjoy those barbecues and the ribs and the steak, foods that I couldn't have eaten. And that's what's going to happen when we talk in Laguna on the 28th. I know there are some people that are my age and maybe even a little bit older, and it's never too late to have a beautiful smile, food you can eat, look like for your grandkids. You don't have to be embarrassed, which I was. You can go out to eat. So people my age and older, I highly suggest it to everyone.
Excellent. So between the menu options that are going to be improved after this surgery and the grandkids that are going to want to come and visit longer because grandpa and grandma aren't nursing the teeth condition, this operation is so worth it.
Absolutely.
Teeth in a day. Thank you so much, Doreen. Folks, join us again July 28th, Ayers Hotel, Laguna Woods, and come and see the solution for that current problem you're dealing with. Thank you.
Welcome back. We just saw a quick testimonial about Cunning Dental Group, and I have Hanaro here, who's with Cunning Dental Group, to tell us a little bit about them and also an event that they have coming up. Well, welcome, Hanaro.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit about Cunning Dental Group.
So Cunning Dental Group is celebrating their 50th year doing cosmetic dentistry in Montclair. They recently opened up an office in Irvine that's 5 to 10 minutes away. And so they just have a lot of experience, over 15 dentists and specialists in the practice. So they're just experts at their field of dentistry.
Now, I know we have a picture, so let's take a look at that picture and then tell me, I know you have a specialty.
Yes, so we specialize in the permanent teeth in one-day procedure, also known as all-on-4 dental implants. And we have the best implants in the industry by Noble BioCare. And I know with our experience that we have over 50 years with this amazing procedure to give patients fixed, new, beautiful teeth, it's a wonderful procedure for patients that have dental issues that they want to fix their teeth.
Right, okay. And so the seminar that you're having right next door at the Ayers Hotel, tell me about the event.
Sure. The seminar is going to be on Saturday, July 28th. Registration starts at 11:30. It's right next door at the Ayers Hotel here in Laguna Woods. And it's just a fun educational event. We're going to welcome everybody to come attend, please register with the phone number that you see on the screen. We'll have food, we'll have a doctor or two there to answer questions, and come check it out. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, do they have to register or can they just walk in?
It's preferred that they call in ahead of time.
Okay.
So space is limited, so we want to make sure that we get them registered and hold a seat. So please, if they can register, would be great.
Okay, and you mentioned that there'll be doctors there as well.
Yes, we usually have 1 or 2 doctors that attend, and these are the doctors that are doing these procedures. Dr. Javed here in Irvine will be there, and he will answer questions direct from the doctors, yes.
All right, well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for the information. I'm sure it'll be a big success.
Yep, well, thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Okay.
And don't forget to call that number that we showed you so you can register ahead of time, and that's this Saturday, July 28th. We'll be right back after this.
And a couple quick reminders that our movie today is A Wrinkle in Time, starring Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, and Storm Reed, and tells the story of a girl whose father goes missing. He's a scientist. He just vanishes one day, in her journey on how to find him in the surreal world, based on the classic book. Really good movie. I saw this. Of course, the effects are, special effects are just wonderful in this, but the acting is very good too. The girl, Storm Reed, who plays the protagonist in this, does an excellent job in this film. So highly recommend it. Good family film, and that's today at 2 and at 7 o'clock, A Wrinkle in Time. Now let's get a wrinkle on our weather, and a little bit cooler today. Got some humidity coming in over the weekend for the next few days, probably in the mid to slightly upper 80s today. As we get into the start of next week, we might go back into the 90s just a little bit. So keep that in mind, but overall cooler, and that's good. A little more humid as we get going, but overall a bit cooler, so enjoy that. All right, we will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.